Okay, shalom. Right, this is part 2 of the Key of David. If you didn't see the first video, I do recommend that you see that first. However, this is a standalone video and it's full of interesting, really wonderful things. So let's get started. Let me just pull myself up. Okay then, so we've got this verse from Isaiah 22:22, which says, I will give the key of the house of David on his shoulder, and he shall open and no one shall close, and he shall close and no one shall open. Okay, so let's go and have a look at some of the gematria to do with this. So in this lesson we're going to be having a look at the actual word for key, mafteach. So we've got the gematria there. 528 is the regular, 60 the ordinal, and together they come to 588. These are really significant numbers, by the way. The square ordinal is 1006. Just to point out, however, straight away, so we've got some opposite forces to the key of David. The opposite force being Amalek. So the ordinal of Amalek is 60 and the ordinal of falsehood is 60. These are the two really severe forces that we've got to come against, haven't we? We've got to overcome Amalek, which is synonymous with doubt, and also cooling off. You know, what we tend to do in exile is we cool off, especially when we're faced with doubts. You know, we just, these doubts can just linger before us. We don't seek to have, we don't seek to wrestle those doubts and to reveal God hidden in those doubts. This is really the job of Yosef. It's only Yosef that can overpower Amalek. It's such a powerful force, and the force of cooling off. You know, when we do hit these brick walls and we do encounter doubt and we do feel our faith is very much challenged and we are confused and we don't have answers and things don't make sense. Okay, all these can breed Amalek, can make us very vulnerable. It's like he attacked the ones trailing behind. It means the word for trailing behind is the tail. So when you're on the low web, guess who can affect you? Amalek. And that's when you've got to stand your ground. You've got to remember, be like Yoshua below and Moshe above, and together they overwhelmed Amalek. But he had the audacity to attack even at such a crucial time after they'd just left Egypt. And then you've got falsehood. You know, we are wrestling with falsehood all the time, and this falsehood inflares our flesh, it inflares our evil inclination, it boosts our ego, and it causes Yodhe to be concealed. We need the truth to overwhelm us. Talked about a lot about the truth in last lesson, really important stuff. So straight away you've got the battles and you've got the force to overwhelm that. So let's go and have a look at, well, what can overwhelm Amalek, because he is quite it's the hardest enemy to overcome. It's the toughest enemy to overcome. Amalek is literally the equivalent of Nazis. I mean, these are inhuman level of evil. You know, they are going to inflict suffering at a whole other level, a reality that we want to avoid at all costs. So it's very important that we erase spiritual Amalek, and then we will not have to confront physical Amalek, God forbid. And also falsehood. We eradicate our own inner falsehood. We don't need to face it in the world in which we live. This is very interesting. Okay, so he will crush your head. This is talking about, really it's talking about the Mashiach. He will crush your head, the seed that will crush the head. So this is quite important. I've talked about this quite a lot in my previous teachings. I'm going to actually go bring the verse up for you to see it for yourself. These three middle letters for crush, Hu, Yeshua, Rosh, he will crush your head. Okay, those three letters come to 386, which is the same as Yeshua. You'll see when I bring the actual verse up that the word for crush your head and also for bite your heel contain those same three integral letters. Let's go have a look. But just to point out that this 1006 is exactly the same as a square ordinal. This is the regular for this phrase, is exactly the same as a square ordinal for the key of David. Okay, so we've got this from Genesis 3:15. Okay, it says, and I shall place hatred between you and between the woman, so the serpent and the woman, and between your seed and between her seed. He will crush your head and you will bite his heel. So look at these two words. This is what we've got in this particular, that's like the key of David. Hu Yeshua Rosh. So you can see those letters, Shin, Vav, Pe, come to 386, Yeshua. But we've got Wa'ato, Tashu, Fenu, Okev. And you will bite his heel. Now that word, Tashu, Fenu, has got the three same integral letters, Shin, Vav, Pe. So I've done teachings about this before. That's Yeshua as well. You know, that's the one doing the biting is Yeshua. And this is a little bit like Mashiach ben Yosef dressed up as Esav. Hidden in that, however, is Yodeh Wawi doing a very great work, like what I was talking about yesterday. There's something I wanted to note that adds to what I was saying yesterday, especially about the circumcision. It was just an inspiration that I had this morning actually upon waking. You've got two layers of exile. When you're talking about Esav and Edom, according to Ramchal in his book, The Secrets of Redemption, there are two aspects to the nations. 35 of the 70 nations are Esav. 35 of the nations, or Edom, are Yishmael. So you've got like the Western European countries, the capitalist countries, and then you've got the Islamic, Muslim, Arabic countries of the East. Okay, so the first appearance of Yeshua came via Rome. He was fully dressed up as Esav. Now Esav represents the Orla, the thick outer foreskin. And obviously Mashiach ben Yosef is connected to Yesod, which is symbolic of the male anatomy. Okay, so you've got Yosef getting dressed up as Roman gods. Basically and essentially is dressed up as a Roman god, Mithras, and things like that. Zeus, you know, there's a whole catalogue of people that he imitates. He gets dressed up and disguised as. Likewise, Joseph was dressed up as the gods of Pharaoh, so it's all based on Torah. I've talked about this before, how Joseph really could only be accepted because they perceived that he was like a reincarnation of their gods. He's interpreting the dream of the wheat and the cows, and the wheat is symbolic of Osiris and the cows of Isis, his wife. So there's all kinds of similarities going on there. Well, let's get back to Esav then. So Yesod gets dressed up, i.e. the circumcised becomes uncircumcised in Edom, Rome. So Esav is like a thick, coarse outer foreskin, covering and concealing Joseph. So then we get, you know, when Muhammad comes and we've got the Islamic faith, it's like Yeshua comes again, but he's revealed in a completely different way. And I don't know whether you've listened to some of my teachings, but basically this follows Edomite Rome, Edomite Christianity. Roman Christianity follows after Paul, who was a Roman. Okay, there was two branches of Christianity at the time. There was that was based in Jerusalem, and then there was that was based in Alexandria. So it was like, well, it was really Alexandria and Antioch. So there was the Jamesian Antioch within Israel, and then there was within Egypt the much more Greco-Roman Pauline inspired Christianity that was at Alexandria, and it was the forces at Alexandria through Constantine that pushed Pauline Christianity to be accepted. However, if you trace the origins of Islam, it was Jamesian, Yaakov's version of Christianity, the more Hebraic version of Christianity that was adopted. Okay, so that's a whole other teaching. So when he says Yeshua came again, I will come again, I've got a book. It's talking about the entire the Christian Syriac liturgy being adopted and basically adopted into the Quran. There's a whole book on it. There's a lot of scholarly evidence to suggest that a lot of the original Quranic text is based on Syriac Christian liturgy. The Syriac Christian community that was inspired by James as opposed to Paul. Okay, so you've got the two branches of Christianity. So this very much influenced Islam, and even Muhammad's uncle, who was the first scribe and the first one to acknowledge that Muhammad was a prophet, was a Christian that followed Jamesian Yaakov type Christianity, like Ebionites. Okay, so I didn't expect to speak about that, so I'm sorry if I'm a little bit hesitant, but I hope you catch my drift. So the revelation of Yeshua came again, and this time he came through Islam. Okay, and this time he came as the Jamesian leg of the revelation. Okay, so within Islam you've got circumcision. It's like the Jewish people say, they only circumcise the Orla, so they remove the outer Esav, but there's another layer of foreskin. It's the thin inner layer called the Priya. So in Judaism, the foreskin is not valid until they've got these two layers that have been circumcised. So in a way, Islam is the revelation of Mashiach ben Yosef with that thick outer foreskin taken off, that's Esav. So the Roman influence is removed, and then you're getting a little bit closer to a full Hebraic version of Yeshua found within Quran. Because the teachings within the Quran about Yeshua are much more Torah aligned than the teachings of Yeshua found within the Pauline Christianity. Okay, the Pauline Christianity is Yeshua, Yosef dressed up as Pharaoh, and some of that disguise some of that foreskin is removed when you understand Yeshua as revealed in Islam. It's gone through a certain level of circumcision. That horrific outer husk of Esav has been removed, but it's not fully circumcised. It won't be fully circumcised until Yeshua is fully rooted back in his Hebrew roots. Okay, and this includes through his Hebrew gospel. And I've actually got a very good friend that's putting together the Hebrew gospel. We're living in very exciting times. We're living in times where he's going to be brought fully back. He's going to go full circle and to be revealed to his brothers. You know, and once we understand what exactly has gone on, that Yesod has been going through a circumcision, that Esav has been going through, the nations have been going through a rectification, a circumcision. And this has happened first through Christianity and then through Islam. And then finally when they come back and link up to the beginning of their faith, which is the Torah of Moshe. Okay, I'm not going to say Judaism because there's so many flaws in Judaism at this time. You can't say within Judaism, but certainly towards the Torah of Moshe. Okay, when it gets rooted back to the Torah of Moshe, and then we will have that full circumcision till Yosef is fully revealed to his brothers. Okay, we're living in times where this is possible. We're very close to this, and it's wonderful to see. So there's a connection then, isn't there, between Yeshufcha and Tashufenu? Because in a way, whilst Yosef is dressed up, when he's not fully revealed to his brother, he's almost the equivalent of the serpent that bites the heel of Yaakov. There is some kind of connection to that. Okay? Okay, so now we've gone back to this. I hope you can understand what I'm saying. All these things are so incredible. They're all incredible. Right, so here we've got the key, 528, and straight away we've got the connection. Yoshua, the one who can defeat Amalek, by the way. Yeshua, spelt with an additional hey. So we need that force in order to overcome Amalek and falsehood. And then we've got 528 down here as well. For then I will convert the people to a pure language, and all of them call in the name of the Lord to worship him of one accord. So I've talked about this in my teachings before. Shechem Echad, one accord, is exactly the blessing that was given to Yosef to have a double portion. The word is called, it's exactly the spell, exactly the same in the Torah, Shechem Echad, one portion, which was Shechem, the place called Shechem, and that's where Yosef is buried today. I've been to it myself. It's a really wonderful, wonderful blessing that I managed to get to go and see Yosef's tomb. And I was very, very pleased that I was able to go see that. I wish I could go again. It's not easy to go see the tomb of Yosef, by the way. You've got to go. It's all controlled by the Palestinian Authority. So you've got to go with, I went with a Palestinian, pro-Palestinian tour. I wasn't pro-Palestinian at the time, but it actually changed my life, that tour. I saw some things and I heard some things that really did change my life. We've got to educate ourselves to the reality of life in Israel for all peoples. You crush the heads of Leviathan, you give it as food to the people in companies. So this has got an ordinal of 441, which is emeth, truth. It's got a mispah gadol of 478, which is da'ath, knowledge. So we've got to have our knowledge of God restored, and the way that our knowledge of God is restored is through the Mashiach of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, who is Moshe. The concept of Moshe, who is the Mashiach, the ultimate Mashiach. The umbrella term for the Mashiach is Moshe. We've got to have our da'ath restored, because it was our da'ath that fell with Adam when he ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's our knowledge that has fallen into our flesh, our basar, our Esav. And we need the basaroth tovoth, the good news, to elevate that knowledge back up. We need circumcised flesh, basically, in every way possible. Circumcised anatomy, circumcised lips, circumcised heart. Talked about that as well last lesson. So this is very interesting. So this is Yaakov rectified and David rectified. So this is equivalent of Tifereth and Malkuth. David is Malkuth. Yaakov represents Tifereth on the tree of life, and the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. And then we've got Esav. If we add them together, come to 588. So there's got to be that unity. But really, it's not Esav, is it? It's Yosef who has fully rectified Esav and brought him from a place of chaos into a place of shalom. Okay. And then that shalom, that rectified, circumcised Yesod, is able to unite, create the kingdom of heaven as it on the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, so we've got Yaakov, which represents heaven, David, which represents earth. Esav is actually Yosef, who's called Shalom. We read that last lesson. He's called Shalom. The supernal Yesod is Shalom. But where do we get the Shalom from? Well, Esav, 376 is the exact gematria for Shalom. So we've got to transform Esav from Esav into Shalom. Okay, but we don't get given the Shalom. 588. And there's also a concept called the sword of peace. And this you can see this evident within Islam. You know, they very much used the sword to bring about advancement of the Islamic faith, you know, to subdue the nations, at least to holiness in some way, and to circumcise the nations in some way. But they did it through the sword of peace, you know, in a way they did. Because they are the religion of peace. They're the ones that say, peace be upon you, peace be upon you, peace be upon you. It's a very important blessing within Islam. They are the religion of peace, but this peace is very much hidden in the evil of exile that we're all subject to. So Christianity is subject to evil, and there's a lot of evil outer husks that you've got to contend with. Judaism subject to evil, there's a lot of evil outer husks. Islam subject to evil. So there's a wonderful light, but then there's a outer evil dark crust. That the sons of the noble saw the daughters of man when they were beautifying themselves. So you've got the regular and the you've got the ordinal and the mispag, adult ordinal, add them together, they come to 588. So this is opposite all this, isn't it? These are the Nephilim, if you like. And if you look into it, the giants, if you look into it, they've caused a lot of trouble. They're actually one of the Erev Rav. Who are the Erev Rav? The mixed multitude that left Egypt with the children of Israel. There's 5 aspects to the Erev Rav. So there's the Nephilim, which is the head of the serpent, what we're talking about here, that needs to be crushed, by the way. The head of the serpent is the Nephilim. So you've got the Nephilim, the Gibborim, the Anakim, the Rephaim, and the Amalekim is the tail that attacks the tail. When you're trailing behind, you're going to get Amalek. He's the tail of the serpent, and the initial letter spell Negara, evil plague. So all this that we've been suffering with the coronavirus, and then the vaccines, and all the evil that you've been able to see as a consequence of this, all the control, manipulation, the evil shepherds, the people making profit out of it, all the lies, all the fake science, all the fake medicine, the serpent sign for medicine. It's all to do with Erev Rav. It's exposing its ugly head for us to crush. Okay, so this phrase here is connected to the head of the serpent that needs to be crushed. Okay, so we sinned a serpent, now you got to crush it with your feet. Don't be getting bitten by it. His seed won't. Right, this is the day that Yahweh has made. So let us rejoice and be glad in it. So again, that comes to 588. There's another connection though here, isn't there? 474 is also connected down to the Leviathan, crushing the heads of the Leviathan. So we've got the crushing the heads of the serpent somewhere up here, and then we've got the very head of the serpent, the Nephilim, the giants, and then we've got crush the head of Leviathan. Leviathan is connected to Yesod, basically. It's Yesod in a state of exile. And it's also connected to Malkuth, because Leviathan and Malkuth have both got exactly the same gematria. And this is connected to King David, because it's the exact same gematria for Ruddy with beautiful eyes, which is talking about King David. It's an appellation for King David. Talked about that last lesson also. But this overall total comes to 5,280. We want to get to this place because this is, as the sages say, the righteous will feast on the flesh of Leviathan. And there's all kinds of significant things regarding that whole concept. I've heard, in fact I heard just today from my friend who's doing the Hebrew Gospel, that's connected to the Eucharist. In some way, and the rabbis say that the righteous will eat of the flesh of the Leviathan, and then his skin, according to the book of Job, I do believe, and what the rabbis say is the skin of the Leviathan will cover the walls of Jerusalem. Okay, very special skin. So as you can see, connected to the key of David, this is the force that's going to bring this about. Okay, all wonderful stuff. And then we've got Bet Yerushalayim in Jerusalem, 588. Shortness of breath, and because of their hard labour. So this was the horrible state that they got into in exile. They really just reached the end. You can see this happening again now. Shortness of breath happens when you have got too much adrenaline and cortisone in your body. You're literally stressed out and full of anxiety. You've got stress hormones pumping through your body. You're in a state of trauma, state of stress, state of anxiety. And more people, or you've got neurological problems. You've got things like ADHD, where it doesn't process your you folate properly in a lot of cases, so you're not, your central nervous system's running on empty constantly, and then you've got things like autism. There's all kinds of things that can cause you to have a great deal of anxiety and stress. Just life is so chaotic at this time. And so we've been pushed to this place where we've got shortness of breath. Literally, we can't breathe properly, we can't breathe deeply. One of the remedies for this is to learn how to breathe deeply every day. Just set a time aside. It's very important to be able to breathe properly, because it's going to it releases you from a state of exile into a state of reasoning, and you've got much more cognitive reasoning ability when you can breathe deeper. Basically what's happening when you breathe shortly, you will be using what's called the reptilian part of your brain to process reality, and there is no logic or reasoning involved in that. You're basically survival mechanism, it's your survival instinct, and it will be just pumping your body full of adrenaline. You'll be going into fight, flight or paralysis mode, and I think there's a new one that they've now started to say you're basically in a state of stress and survival. But as soon as you start to breathe deep, even if you're in that state, it automatically trips a switch in your brain, and then you can start to come into the forefront of your brain, your cerebellum and things like that. You can start to process things much more objectively, much more reasonably, and much more logically. But when you've got shortness of breath, you will be automatically in survival mode, and you will be just thinking, do I run, do I fight, or do I collapse? And that's no state to be in. But this exile pushes us into that state, and it's horrific. There's loads of people that suffer in it. I've suffered horrifically myself. It's slavery, utter slavery when you're in that state. We need redemption. Who's going to redeem us then? Well, thankfully, the Mashiach, Moshe, so regular and ordinal, 384, Yeshua, regular and ordinal, 439, and then even the concept of Yeshua, which is Yeshua in exile with us, disguised as Esav, 316 plus 37, 353, add them all up together, 384. 384 is exactly the same as the Mashiach of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. This is mentioned in the Torah and the Tanakh, specifically the Tanakh, I think. There's a number of occasions where it mentions the Moshiach of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Those two together, 358 and 26, come to 384. Exactly the same as Moshe. So that's how we know that he is the Mashiach of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, not the Mashiach of our imagination. What we expect in our minds, in our imagination, that is fueled by lies and fantasy and our evil inclination, and when our knowledge is stuck in our flesh instead of being raised up to the place of Golgotha, our skull, where it should be, but it's fallen since Adam ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil down into the flesh. However, Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh had a plan, and it's just as I've been speaking, there's a remedy for this shortness of breath. It's the concept of the Mashiach. First of all, we've got to unite Moshe and Yeshua together as one, which includes acknowledging the hidden way in which Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh has been operating through these last 2,000 years of exile, Edomite exile. It's all the concept of Mashiach. This together is united, and this reveals the name of Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh in his great mercy. And that is the light that then fills up the vessel, the vessels of Shalom. Okay, and also what brings about the kingdom of David. The Vilna Gaon said the throne of David is Mashiach ben Yosef. So we can see there's a connection there. There's all kinds of wonderful stuff. We could talk about that for a long time. Right. It might seem a little bit odd why I've put this in, but I'm going to need to muscaria, because if you go back and look at the history of Christianity, there's a lot of beliefs, like Gnostic beliefs especially, that believed that the tree of life was a mushroom. There's loads of artwork. I've done teachings on it before, but this is not just a concept found within Christianity. They was trying to access levels of spirituality But it's like anything, the trying to hasten the redemption through drugs, through drink, like what Noah did when he drank. The sages say was trying to access the sin of Adam. What was the sin of Adam? I've done a teaching on this before as well. And also you've got Nadab and Abihu at that very auspicious time on the 8th day, the inauguration of the not the Mikdash, the Mishkan in the wilderness, the tabernacle in the wilderness. On this 8th day of inauguration, they wanted to rectify as much of reality as possible, but they took it one step too far, and through intoxication of something, they ended up perishing. As a result, we cannot rush redemption. It's a much slower process for us. It's because everybody's included. So there's no like quick fix here. There's no like, oh, take this mushroom and I'll experience this massive spiritual high and I'll be able to rectify and remedy it all. It's all on a time frame. It's all on God's time frame. It's all according to his plan, not ours. We can't rush it, except when it's time to rush it. In its time, he will hasten it. Okay, so right at the end, there will be like a big rush. I'm pretty sure of it. And we're right on that. We're about to catch that wave and get all the way home to shore. We're about ready. The wave is already coming up behind us. I don't know whether you've ever surfboarded or bodyboarded like what I've done, but you can just, when you feel the presence of the wave rising up and you're just ready, you've got your board ready, you're going to get your time ready, and you're going to hit that wave and it's going to carry you all the way home. We're there now. We're not going to get there through psychedelics and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people at this time pushing these kinds of experiences, these spiritual experiences. There may be some benefit to them, because we've been highly traumatized and it's very difficult for us to break that mental cycle. And there are some benefits to have to be had from magic mushrooms and stuff like that. I've talked about this before, but to depend on that is folly. We've literally got to wait for the natural process of rectification to occur. But like I say, there's maybe some benefit to it somewhere in and amongst it, but it's not something we can rely on to bring about the final redemption for all humanity. Okay, but there is lessons to learn from it, and I spoke about this as well in the concept of the mother of all trees, because the mother of all trees communicates through a network of mushrooms, basically. There are lessons to learn, but there's also a lot of warnings to be very, very careful about regarding that. But anyway, Amanita muscaria, fly agaric, that's what we would call it, is 588. That's the red mushroom with the little white dots all over it. That's highly psychedelic, by the way. I've never taken anything I'm too frightened to. However, it's been a massive part of hidden history, the hidden history of Christianity, the hidden history of Egyptology and things like that, and a lot of the faith systems throughout the world have relied on psychedelics as a means to experiencing profound spiritual revelations. Be careful, you don't get tripped up, because there's, as much as there may be a spiritual experience, you're also opening yourself up to dark spiritual experiences, and who knows where that would lead. So this is what you should be investing in, by the way. Chesed ve'emet, kindness and truth, so 588. Absolutely essential. We've got to have the truth. The truth is the only force to overcome falsehood. You've got a whole load of lies governing you. The only way that you can break the influence of that lies is with the truth. It's very difficult sometimes, though, to let go of that falsehood that we have been brainwashed with in order to cling to the actual truth. Kindness is sometimes necessary, because kindness and truth together. Do you know why? Because usually with falsehood there's a lot of there's a lot of cruelty. We know deep down it in adding up. You know, like when you're in an abusive relationship and they're telling you they love you but they're treating you a different way. You know, go with your gut instinct. I ignored my gut instinct in a relationship to my detriment, and I caused my own children to suffer. You know, they can tell you a million times that they love you, but when you have a gut instinct that's saying there's something cruel about this, there's something just not quite adding up, maybe a little bit sadistic, there's something not quite right, and they're trying to blame you for everything, which is what's happening in a lot of relationships. When somebody's being genuinely kind, it's a massive indication. If they've been it adds up. You know, if they're then telling you they love you and they're being kind as well, you've got some assurance, though, because they always go together, chesed wa emet. Whereas with falsehood, they can tell you that they love you. You can be in a relationship and they're just telling you what you want to hear. They know what you want to hear. They're going to let you hear the words, and the actions are not going to be there, by the way. They're going to let you down in every way possible. This is part of the battle that we're in now. You know, the battle for our hearts, the battle for our minds, the battle for our souls, and sometimes it's those closest to us that create the battleground. I'm sure there's plenty of people who can listen to this that can identify. Right, Soph, and bearing in mind it was the Yam Soph, the sea of reeds that we came through. Right, so there's some really interesting numbers in this. 913 is Bereshith. Okay, so the beginning is wedged in the end. It certainly is. 550 is Mashiach ben David. So Mashiach ben David is 520. If you add to that 14, Mashiach ben David is 534. With additional yod, it's 92 with the ordinal for it, and then also if you add on to that 24, it comes to 550. So let me just double check that. Yeah, that is Mashiach ben David, spelt with the additional yod, the regular, Mashiach ben David, the ordinal, 92. 434 plus 90 plus 24 for David on its own, spelt with the additional yod, comes to 550. He is the end. He is the final rectification of Adam. He is Adam fully rectified, knowledge fully restored back to its rightful place. And so we can see 550 the square ordinal plus the regular ordinal comes to 588, connected to the key. Know what the end is. If you don't know what the end is, you won't be aiming for it. We're aiming for Mashiach ben David. Okay, we're aiming for his kingdom to be established on earth. We're aiming for Shalom. Until morning light. We're waiting for that morning light, aren't we? So that's also 588. Also 93 it's the Misbah Gadol of Mashiach ben David, the Misbah Gadol ordinal of Mashiach ben David, when David is spelt normally, Daleth Vav Daleth, okay, without the additional yod, but taking into account the Misbah Gadol of the letter Nun. Right, let's go to the next page then. I'm going to have to try and move through these quickly because it's taking a little bit longer than I thought. Right, so we've got this statement now, and I will give the key to the house of David. And we've got some phenomenal numbers here. Every time you've got this cut occurs so many times. It's a phenomenon. I've got a whole list of instances where this phenomenon occurs, where you've got a number and then the ordinal is exactly a tenth of it, so together they are 11 times the ordinal. And there's a connection to some really important things like the 11 spices within the frankincense, okay, and other things. So 2002 is this, which is 2 times 101. I think I might just try and flick up, if I can find it, all this incredible information about these incredible messianic things with these numbers. I might wait till later actually, because I don't know whether I've quite got time, but I've shown it many times in the teachings. There's all kinds of stuff where it shows up again and again and again, this combination, and it's all highly messianic stuff. Right, so straight away the Gospels, Ha Basaroth, okay, with the two vavs. These are the true Gospels that we're awaiting. Okay, is 82 is exactly the same as Mashiach ben Dawid, ordinarily, when David is spelled Daleth, Vav, Daleth, the normal way. So those two together come to 1001. So the Gospels are a key to the house of David. Absolutely, it goes without saying. But we want a revelation of the true Gospels, and the ones that we've got now are Edomite version of the Gospels. We want the Hebrew version of the Gospels. L'David mizmor na'um Adonai, l'Adoni shev limini. Of David a psalm, the word of the Lord to my master, wait for my right hand. So this is highly messianic as well. It comes to 1001. This is actually mentioned in the Gospels, this particular phrase. Okay, and there's a lot of mystery involved in it anyway, but it's a key to the house of David, and ultimately the master was Yeshua, wasn't it? Okay, it's referring to Yeshua and not to David in this instance. I do believe anyway. I might be getting that a little bit jumbled up, but there we go. So we've got this Ori, square ordinal, which is shine. This verse will come up also because it's also connected. It's the misbagadol ordering of the entire verse, 537. So massive connection there with that. Shine, Ori, Uri. And then Sarah we've got. For this, the regular ordinal is Sarah. And then we've got this, it's directly connected to, and I will give the key of the house of David. So we know this is very important. So this is like a key within a key, isn't it? Ori, my light, it can be translated in as, but it also means shine in this instance. It could be arise my light, or arise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has shone upon you. So that's Isaiah 61. The Misbah Gadol of that is 2002, exactly the same as, and I will give the key of the house of David. So we know that in this particular verse there's a key as well to it, because it's so powerfully connected up here, and we've got this double confirmation that this is a highly messianic phrase because of these numbers. The relationship that is exactly 10 times that, and together the total is 11 times the ordinal. Okay, so going back to this number, let's just have a look. I don't think, we're looking at this number now, 1820, the 182, because obviously it's a very important number, and this is a number that's occurred many times before. I'm going to try and go through this very quickly though. So starting with this verse here, regarding God the Matzo is likened to Mashiach ben Yosef. He was the manna from heaven, and also related to the whole concept of the unleavened cakes. And you shall watch over the unleavened cakes, and on this very day I have taken your legions out of the land of Egypt, and you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an everlasting statute. Exodus 12:17. So let's have a look at some of these numbers. Got them jumbled up a bit. And I will give you the house of David, at the key of the house of David. So we've got that number. And you shall watch over the 11 cakes, the ordinal being 182. Okay. Like I say, this is very much connected to the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef. And then Yaakov, here look, Yaakov himself is 182. So we know that this is connected to Yaakov. Okay, and Yaakov represents Tifereth, Yaakov represents heaven, Yaakov represents the name Yod-Heh Waw-Heh. Okay, that's quite a significant number. I actually did an analysis of that this morning. I didn't pick up that one though. Can you find out the limit of the Almighty? So this is from Job 11:7. That's 1820. So there's a deep connection to that. This is a very, very profound verse. I have actually looked into it before. Shaddai is the name of God associated with Mashiach ben Yosef. It's got the same gematria, for example, as Metatron. Shaddai is 314. I've talked about that before. But look at this here, Taklit. This will come up, this word Taklit, the end. Well, we'll see how it comes up. So we've got a connection between this highly, highly messianic, mystical, secret, coded verse and the key. So hidden in this verse is a key equivalent to the house of David. And Abraham called there in the name of the Lord. So that comes to 1456, which is 4 times 364, 4 times Hasatan. But it's also 8 times 182. So up here, for example, this is 5 times Hasatan. 1820 is 5 times Hasatan, the Satan. So he is opposite the Satan. That's the only way of putting it. 188 ordinal for this is exactly the same as Yaakov rectified with the additional it should say with the additional vav there, with the additional vav, which represents the truth. Od Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive, even though he's descended into Esau and he's all got a foreskin up and it looks like he's perished in there and that there can't possibly be any of Yosef left. He's alive, because the Torah is our testimony that he lives. Okay. And that comes at 8 times 182 and 16 times 91. 91 is the triangle of Echad, the state that we're trying to get to, oneness. And then the Kohen shall look at it, and behold, 364 is Hasatan. And this is very highly messianic as well, because the person who is the leper, considered the leper, the suffering servant, is Yeshua, because who Zaharath comes to 772, which is 2 times 386, 2 times Yeshua. And mourn for him, again we've got 364, which is exactly the same as Hasatan, 2 times Yaakov, 2 times Hasatan, 1 times Hasatan, 2 times Yaakov. So we need a double portion of truth, don't we? We need them 2 vavs that are needed for the word the luminaries, that's got 2 missing vavs. Yaakov represents the vav, so we need the vav for the concept of Mashiach ben Yosef, the vav for the concept of Mashiach ben Dawid, the whole concept of Mashiach, to overthrow Hasatan, who is the liar. That should say Banat Amalek. There's a missing bet there. I have to correct that. But daughters of the king. So it's got a regular of 85, Misbah Gadol of 97. If we add them together, come to 182. Banat Hamelech. And he placed in Edom governors in all of Edom. So who did? King David. Once he got them on board and fully circumcised, he could place governors in Edom, and then he had peace. By the way, it brought them to a state of peace. you got to have Edom on board doing holy things in order for there to be peace. And like I say, look at that. It comes to Yaakov. So that whole restoration of the union, the brotherhood between Yaakov and Esau. So what have we got here? Okay, so these are the 3 ways Vav can be filled out that represent the main three aspects of Mashiach, Moshe, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben Dawid. So it's a bird of redemption, the body being Moshe, the left arm being Mashiach ben Dawid, the right arm being the left arm being Mashiach ben Yosef, right arm Mashiach ben Dawid. So love and joy, basically, that's what that stands for. To serve Yod He Waw He with love and joy. They're the wings. So squared, it comes to 317. All this comes to 317. It's got an ordinal of 94. An irregular of 40. An ordinal and a regular of a regular of 47 and an ordinal of 47. They're both 47 because all the letters in that the yud and below, so we never get to double digits. And because of that, the regular and the ordinal will always be the same. If we add the ordinal to the squared ordinal, we get 364. Hasatan. So it's connected up to here, it's connected up to Yaakov, it's connected up to the Vav, which is Yaakov, Tifereth, the 6 days, okay, 6 supernal days that we are being rectified through, that we are trying to reveal the truth, that there's only Yod He Wawi and nothing else beside him. There's only him fulfilling his Torah in this world in which we live, this Edomite exile, is fulfilling it according to the Torah, according to predominantly the story of Yosef, which is a story of Yesod descending into Egypt, exile. Okay, so we've got this as well. It's Yosef, tree of Yosef. So 82 is the regular ordinal, and then add that to the Mispagdol ordinal, we get 182. It's Yosef. It's Yaakov. It's the truth. It's beautiful. This is the true gospel. Reveals the truth. Give truth to Yaakov. And then the light of Mashiach ben Yosef comes to 182. The regular ordinal of Oro Shel Mashiach ben Yosef comes to that. It's all beautiful. And then the angel of God, Malach Ha Elohim, comes to 182, same as Yaakov. Already pointed that out. And then here, look, and behold, it had plucked an olive leaf in its mouth. So this is the dove of redemption. We just talked about the bird, didn't we? Moshe, the right arm, the left arm. This is the dove of redemption, the bird of peace. Okay, it's got an ordinal of 182. So absolutely incredible gematria. I think we've just got a little bit more to look at. So the key of the house of David on his shoulder. I think we're going to be looking at this number now. Let's have a look. Yes, we are. For the end of the Torah. So this is taken from the New Testament. For Mashiach is the end, perfection, completion of the Torah for righteousness for those who believe in him. In who? In Mashiach ben Yosef. So we see this is an absolute key for the end of the Torah. Ki tachlit. And we pointed out that word tachlith, didn't we? He made an end to dark. Oh no, this was in another Job. I did point out the word in the Job 11, which included the word tachlith. But he made an end to darkness. Kate Shem Lechoshech, the darkness of exile. And every end or perfection he fathoms, a stone of darkness and the shadow of death. Again, highly coded messages in here. We've got this word taklit again, haven't we? Taklit. For Mashiach is the end, perfection, completion of the Torah. Basically, what does that mean? It means it's Yod He Wawi's goal. He's been aiming for fulfilling the word, and he's fulfilled it in the last 2,000 years. And that last 2,000 years is all about Mashiach ben Yosef, who is Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, so pay attention, because it's the completion, Yod He Wawi's completion of his Torah, how he has been completing Torah. Never mind what we've been doing. It's now about looking and seeing what Yod He Wawi has been doing. He's been fulfilling his Torah perfectly. And the Mashiach, Yeshua, is the end of that Torah. He's the goal of the Torah of Yod He Wawi. And we can tell. Why can we tell? Because we've lived it and breathed it and eaten it and slept it. It's 2,000 years of our own history that has only been the fulfillment of the Torah according to Yod He Wawi. His interpretation of the Torah. He's been living it. We've been all living it. So that's very powerful stuff, by the way. If we look at this number here, for the end of the Torah, it comes to 1,506, comes to an ordinal of 156, which is exactly the same as Yosef, that's regular of Yosef, and also Zion. However, if we look at this, which is doubly connected to it, and I'll show you why. I think it's doubly connected to it. Thought it was. It might come up again later. You shall give truth to Yaakov is 1,503. So if we add the 3 kalel to that, for one for each word, Titen emeth li Yaakov, it comes to 1506, exactly the same as this. So we need the truth. What truth? Oh, Yosef Chai. Yosef is still alive. It looks a lot like he's turned into Esav and something's gone awfully wrong, but it hasn't. Look at the Torah, see how the Torah is being getting fulfilled in this world in which we've all lived, and then we can know for sure, oh, Yosef Chai. We know for sure, it's just an absolute reality. If your eyes are open, you want to know the truth, you will see it. If you're looking at the reality, if you're reading the Torah, if your eyes are open, you will see it. If you long for the truth, you will see it. It will be given to you. Okay, so Titen emeth li Yaakov. It's all within our grasp. It's not far away. The Torah's not far away. It's pressed up against your noses for all of us. So there's a connection there to this as well. Because if we add the 3 kalel, there's an equality, isn't there? For the end of the Torah is the truth that's given to Yosef, to Yaakov, or Yosef Chai. Let's see what else. And then we've got this, which is really quite important, because this is Adam fully rectified when he becomes the Aleph Gadol. This is a huge Aleph written in the Torah scroll. It's double the normal size. Moshe is written in a diminished state because he had to go into exile, so his Aleph was diminished. In the word Vayikra, the end Aleph is half the size it should be, and this is talking about Moshe's humility. However, when Adam is fully restored, he's like, and even Moshe is called the Aleph Gadol. Moshe is called the Aleph Gadol. It's referring to this big Aleph in Adam, Shet, Enosh. Adam, Seth, and Enosh. So this big Adam refers to Adam fully rectified. And it comes to Mispar Gadol 1662, exactly the same as that, exactly the same as that. Okay, not only that, got some other big numbers here. We've got, if you add the Mispar Gadol and the Mispar Gadol ordinal, it comes to 1776, which is 2 times 888. If you take the alright, when the Aleph is 1,000, so if instead of adding it up like this, if you add it up with that being 1,000 instead of 1, the regular comes to 2,101. Okay, the Mispar Gadol would be 2,661. If you add 3 kalel for each word, for Adam, Shet, and Enosh, just like what we did up here, it comes to 2,664, which is 3 times 888. That 888 is the filling out of Hamoshiach, the Mashiach. Okay, so it's all highly, highly messianic. And with that, I will say Shalom. Please subscribe and share and like.